And then like I had Coach Berdis as a gym teacher. So, he was totally different as a gym teacher than as a coach. You know what I mean? You got guys that come in, you give the basketballs, guys go play basketball. As long as you do what you're told in gym, you pass. It's pass or fail. We come to the gym, we have fun, we play, and then go to practice, and he's a totally different individual. You know what I mean? It's like a switch.
Yeah.
And then, then I have like Tondi, and then you have Balls, and then Sherrod. And at the time I was hanging out with Kentrell Tate. He was driving us to practice all the time. And, he was chasing Marcus and Tyrone. He wanted to be one of the backs. And it was one of those things where I was in the car with them riding to practice. So I'm riding to practice with all of the backs. It's me, Tondi, Marcus, Tyrone, and Kentrell. I mean, I'm the little guy in the car, So I actually had a lot of eye-opening experiences with playing with older guys. And I mean, they more so embraced me instead of, like in a lot of situations when a guy's a younger guy, it's more so, like you're the younger guy, but they didn't really treat me like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of good players that year. That was actually, I remember conversation going in, the speech, remember we had this conversation about the speeches before the game. Yeah. I want to win them all. You remember saying that, Coach Bert? I want to win them all. And I mean, and we actually did. We won them all. I mean, there's a lot in that season that I remember, we're putting up points here and there. And, I'm waiting for, the blowout to come. So I get my carries, varsity, you want to see your name in the paper. It's not like now where social media, everybody had a paper after that. After Friday night games, Saturday morning, you want to open a paper to put your name in that box score. You get a carry, you in there. Yeah. You get a touchdown, you really in there. It gets bold when you score. When you just get a carry, it's real light. So I really wanted to get in there. I actually scored 6 touchdowns my sophomore year. I had 6 touchdowns. I had a really good game versus Shaw. I had a really good game versus Buckeye Loco, and I had a really good game versus Wilson. I knew all of the plays, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if Marcus or Tyrone caught a cramp, but I got in kind of early. It was like maybe going into halftime or something happened where I can't remember, but I remember Coach Mick, get in there. And it's like, is he serious? So I go in. I know all the plays to a T. And I know Brad. I played for the Suns with him, and they called 34, and I remember getting out of the huddle. I didn't even know which way to go. I had never been out there, and we was at YSU. I had never been out there, and to see that was just the people in the stands and just being out there. And I mean, I had a pretty good carry, so I ended up scoring that game as well. So it was actually a really good experience to play with them guys, especially being young. You know what I mean? To have that type of talent.
Yeah, and I think the names that you mentioned, how hard they practiced, how hard they prepared, the commitment in the weight room.
Yeah, those guys were all coaches on the field. I mean, they were extensions of the coaching staff. That's a great gang there.
And then so, like Ron, having a team like that, all veterans, 10-0, AP state champs, a lot of them were 2- and 3-year starters at that point in time. What's your philosophy going into that 2001 group where, Keelan and even Ed in the conversation that we've had was people overlooked the Cowboys at that point in time just because of how much talent was lost?
Yeah, sure. And to extend that group's legacy, those guys cut their jib, so to speak, on the 97 year. They were freshmen.
Sure.
And they had an option, okay? You could turn your equipment in, okay, and be ball boys and whatnot down the stretch during the playoff run, or you could practice with us, but you'll be scout team. I mean, you guys will be fodder for the defense and offense, and they did. All those guys practiced and they got better, and that was like an extra part of a season for them under their belt. So that kind of carried through with them throughout their tenure.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, that's 5 extra weeks of practice,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, anytime you make the playoffs, it's extra time. So, you know, what are you thinking? Do you have any memories of coming into the season in terms of like maybe specifically with Ed transitioning into, you know, offensively? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was you know, coming off of the year, you know, coming off of 2000, you know, disappointment certainly from the Niles game, but great expectations knowing we had someone like Ed, you know, dotting the I. I mean, that was, and even though, you know, you lose the guys that we lost, certainly a good, when you got somebody to carry the mail that's, you know, Ed's caliber, that gives you a lot of hope coming into the year.
Yeah. You know, you and I were talking about this leading up to it. You know, what was some of your thoughts in terms of like the philosophy on the lead back, and you had some good ideas there.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm interested to hear Ed's thoughts on this. We were from the time that we started in '87. You know, we were an I team, and we feature the tailback, and you know, and as the years progressed, and we were able to get the quarterback more involved. You know, we did. But tailback was always I mean, our offense was patterned on off tackle and toss and play action. So, you know, the tailback was always going to be the guy. And my thoughts are, how aware were you, Ed, of some of the backs that preceded you? I mean, you talked about Anthony and having, you know, even though Anthony wasn't a tailback, he did run some tailback, but he was, you know, a multi-purpose back.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on some of the guys that, you know, played before you, and maybe long before you? Because I know that we used to pound the tradition and the history and all that. So
for sure. Well, going back, even, you know, just playing with Marcus, knowing how good his brother was. You know what I mean? Sylvester was, you know, you walk through the hallway to get to the gym or to the locker room, you can't miss but seeing Sylvester up there. That's, you know what I mean? And he's from close to my neighborhood. So, and his little brother plays with me. So one of those things was, you know, I always heard Sylvester's name because he was not too far of a gap away from us, but, you know, he was still, you know, like listen to his brother, like, man, you know, my brother was good.